All right, so today we're going to continue to remind you guys that every single day that you are working from home, you need to make sure that you check in on your attendance. We also we do Zooms from 8:30 to 9:15 if you're awake by then. So all you got to do is click on that and you can join our live Zooms. Watching these videos, I mean, it's the same thing. If you were to join right now, you'd be a part of the video. So you're welcome to join anytime. And then anytime you need the day's assignment, so which should be every day, then you're going to click on the 4-6 weeks. You'll click on the current week. So usually I have the words current week on the current week. And then you'll go down to the day. So there's today's assignment right there. All right. So for today, we're continuing to work on and review equations and inequalities and just getting Y by itself. But today, instead of the equations and stuff just looking very basic, we put questions that look a little bit more like the STAR test. And so I'm not saying that necessarily it's more difficult, but sometimes, especially if kids aren't great test takers, then you'll let these words kind of get to you. And so one of the things you'll find out about me is I can't stand to read. I hate to read. And it does get me in trouble. So like a lot of times I won't read this. I just see an equation here. And this is like a neon flashing light to me. And when I see an equation, then I'm going to do what I do every time I see an equation. And so the same thing I would do on the other worksheets where all we saw was an equation. I'm going to put this under menu 3.1. And so a lot of kids will read this, and it's good, that you're reading, but then they let the words get to them instead of focusing in on what they know. So it says, find the answer that makes the equation true. And like a lot of kids will get stuck on this word true right here. And they're like, oh man, it's not even true or false down here. It's agreeable. And so they get so lost on this that all of a sudden it makes them not know what they're supposed to do over here. And so one of the things I tell kids is don't let the words get to you. Now, sometimes, like it may say something like not true. That word not always gets me because I kind of don't read everything. And so, sometimes the words can, be a little tricky and they're actually important. But I'm just in general, when I see an equation, I'm going to block out pretty much all the words and I'm going to just jump into doing what I know to do. So today you see just a basic equation. I want you to go plug this into your calculator. So we go to regular calculator. Remember, there's only 2 spots we go, and this is regular calculator. So we go menu 3.1, and that's our INSOLVE. So menu 3.1. And then we're going to type in the equation. So 3x plus 2 equals 17. And then remember at the end of that, you're going to put comma x. So once you've typed that in, just hit enter. And if you typed it in correctly, now the biggest mistake is that you accidentally like forget the x, or you just type something in wrong. I do that all the time. And so if your answer isn't there, or of course this is agreeable, but let's say you get a weird decimal answer that just doesn't seem to really make sense, because most of the time our answers should be either nice whole numbers, or if it is a decimal, a pretty nice decimal. But you get some ugly decimal, chances are you typed it in wrong. So 5 does look like a nice answer right there. 5 is the answer. So when we go look at this, what I want you to know about gridables is that the first box, so if you're taking a test online, this is what your gridables look like. And the first box is only for a positive or a negative. Now, if it's positive, you do not have to put a plus sign in this. You can if you want, but you don't have to. So it was a positive 5. I'm not going to put a plus sign there. But the numbers don't start until the second box. And so if you put a 5 in this first box right here online when you're testing, it's going to count it wrong, because this box is only for the positive or the negative. And if you were to look at your box, it would actually light up red if you did it online, but it's so faint, like a lot of kids don't even notice it. And so we just try to practice and train that we start our numbers in the second box. This first box is only for if it's a positive or a negative, okay? All right, question number 2, solve for y. So on this question right here, we want to get y by itself. Now, we do not consider this to be easy, all right? And on a test, this would have to be multiple choice. And so if you do not know how to do this, then at this point, you would guess C. However, we want to keep practicing this because I do think that there's some of y'all that could get this. Maybe not everybody, but some of y'all could. Because you do the same thing every time when X and Y are on the same side. So they're on the same side of the equal sign. We always get rid of the 5X first. So we're going to minus 5X and we're going to minus 5X. So this cancels out and we have 3y. So you always bring this down, always pay attention. That's a positive. So we don't need to write the plus down. If it was a negative, we would need to write that down. All right, now these will never ever combine because this has an X and this doesn't. But most answers, I still have your paper from yesterday. There you go. Yep. Do you need a pencil or do you got one? Yeah. So we're looking at number 2 right now. Okay. All right, so these two right here will never ever combine. And, but we like to put the X up front. So we're going to write minus 5X plus 21. So just kind of recapping for you. X and Y were on the same side. So remember, this is tough. So if you don't know how to do it, then we just guess C, right? So I don't want you ever stressing on these, but we're still practicing learning the first step. So if we can get that first step down, then I think, you know, after we get really good at that first step, we'll come back and do the second step, you know, really focus in on it later. So our first step is always to get rid of the X. And so we minus 5X from both sides. We never ever combine these right here because this has an X and this doesn't. But we like to put the X up front, so I put negative 5 up front, and then the 21's positive, so I put plus 21 in the back, okay? And then, like I said, I'm still gonna do it, but you know, we'll really focus in on this second step when we get really good at the first step. So we're dividing by 3 now to everything. And so that cancels out, and our answer is y equals, 1 second, I got this blue thing up here. Get out of here. And then we can always throw this in the calculator, and I will throw this one in the calculator. So anytime you get a fraction, put it in the calculator. This one does not reduce, so I'm not going to worry about it right now. But if you didn't know that it didn't reduce, you can throw it in the calculator, and it'll tell you. And then 21 over 3, I am going to throw in the calculator. So we just put control divide is how you get a fraction. So control divide, oh, and I got a calculator for you right here. So control divide is how we get a fraction. And then we're going to put 21 over 3. So anytime you get a fraction, throw that sucker in the calculator, hit enter, and we get 7 right there. So this will be plus 7. And this will be your answer. So today, this was not multiple choice. So this is what you're writing right here. If you're writing the answer online, you won't have this fraction bar. You're going to have to use like a slash to do your fraction. All right. Yeah, just let me know when you finish getting that written down. You're done? Okay. All right. And then just also to recap one other thing real quick. Today, a part of how today is different is instead of just having an equation, so like the worksheets we've been doing just had an equation. Now there's words around it, okay? And what we don't want is the words to keep you from doing what you know to do. And I want to give you an example with this real quick. So like, first off, I don't like to read. I probably told you this once before, but I hate to read with a passion. I just can't stand reading. So when I see a question, like I tend to kind of skip the words and like all I see is this equation right here. And when I see that equation, I'm like, oh, I'm going to go throw that in the calculator, you know? Now, sometimes it hurts me because sometimes they throw words in like not. Like they don't want to know what the answer is. They want to know what the answer is not. And I struggle with those because I don't really read a lot. Okay. I kind of scan. But on the other side of that, kids who do read, they see it says find the answer of the equation that makes it true. I have a lot of kids that are like, true? Like, what does that mean? True. And then they're like, wait a second, how do I even put true or false in here? And I mean, they just get really confused. And the word true doesn't even mean anything. It's just an equation. You just throw it in, find the answer. Does that make sense? So I tend to tell kids, don't let the words keep you from doing what you know to do. When you see an equation, do what you know to do. Okay. And so, and every once in a while, it is going to get us. Like there's going to be a word that's really important and we're going to miss it because we're like, oh, look, an equation. But for the most part, it helps us more than it hurts us. Okay. And so that's how it's going to be kind of different today is you're going to kind of see some different stuff around just a basic equation. And, you know, we still want to do what we know to do. Okay. All right. So let's take a look at 3. Okay, so this one probably is a little bit more basic. It's just, it says solve, but it's got an equation. So how do we do equations? We go to calculator, right? And then it's 3-1. Yeah, very good. You looked up there. That's what I wanted. So menu 3-1, and then we just type in the equation, right? So go ahead and type it into your calculator real quick, and I'll do it with you. So we got 2 parentheses, x minus 4, so x minus 4, closure parentheses. And these parentheses right here are very important, equals 22. And then when we get done, we got to put a what? Comma x. Very good. So comma x. Comma x. Oh, what the heck did I hit? Comma x. All right, and then we hit enter. And I got 15. Is that what you got? All right, very good. Okay, so today I put these in, hit the wrong thing. I put gridables on here, okay? So when you test online, this is what your gridables look like. So normally when you test on paper, right over there, if that far thing over there, that's normally what gridables look like. But when you test online, they look like this. It's just these boxes right here. So what we want you to know about this is that this first box is only for, is it a positive or a negative? Now, if it's positive, you don't have to put a plus, but you can if you want. Okay, I usually don't put anything if it's positive. If it's negative, you've got to put the negative symbol right here in this box. But numbers have to start in the second box. So if we got 15, then we're going to put 1 and then 5 like that right there. Okay. If you put the 1 right here on the test, it will light up this box red, but it's very, very slight. It's hard to tell. I wish they would make it like bright, like, hey, you just screwed up, but it doesn't do that. And so, I mean, it does barely outline it, but nothing to where, like I said, it just stands out. So we want to train that when we write this in this box, that we always start in that second box. Okay. All right. So the answer here is 15. All right. So now we're going to go look at this one. Now, one of the things that I'll tell you is like, if we were doing a question like this, most answers tend to be whole numbers. Now you can get some decimals, but they're usually pretty nice decimals, like 2.5, you know, something really nice. If you get a really nasty, like 3.24789, we probably did something wrong. Most of our answers come out to be nice, neat answers. So on a question like this that has decimals, you know, we're probably going to expect, we might have a decimal answer on this. Okay. So don't be shocked if we do. I get some kids that are like, oh, I can't do this. There's decimals. Well, maybe if you were working it out by hand, this would be a lot tougher. But what are we going to use here? We're going to use our calculator. So the fact that there's decimals, that shouldn't matter at all. You know, we just got to make sure we type in the decimal. So this is nothing but an equation. So where are we going to go? We're going to go to our regular calculator and we're going to hit, what are we going to hit? Very good. Menu 31. So we're going to type in menu 31. So go ahead and type this in your calculator real quick. And we are typing in 2.4. So right here's your decimal, by the way. 2.4x plus 5 minus 7.4x equals 15. And then at the end of that, we're going to put comma x and hit enter. Okay, well, okay, so it did come out to a whole number. So we got -2 here. All right, so let's go back to our answers. And so right here, it was -2. We have to put the negative sign right there when we put our answer. And then, of course, the 2 would go right there. Okay. I want you to notice something here. So you know how we always talk about when we don't know something, we guess C, right? Well, we got a strategy for these too, because there's no C. So what do we guess? So our strategy is most answers. So we have gone back and looked at every STAR test that's been created, because it's only been around for like 6 or 7 years. So we went back and we looked at every STAR test ever created. Most answers fall between 1 and 20. Sometimes it's positive, sometimes it's negative. So we have a strategy that says, if you don't know one that's a griddable, don't ever leave it blank. You pick a number between 1 and 20 and put that number. My number is 5, okay? So every time I don't know something, I'm gonna put 5 down, okay? So you have a number and you choose it every time. The other day, we were taking the final, and I had a kid who didn't know an answer. And so they were leaving it blank. And I'm like, no, we don't leave it blank. Give yourself a shot. And so I said, they're like, what do we do? And I said, well, pick a number between 1 and 20. So they go to put their number down, and they put down 12, and 12 was the answer. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they just guessed it. And then they went and put a negative sign and they missed it. It wasn't -12, it was +12. I was like, oh, it was right there. But I mean, that's just the way it is. Sometimes it is negative, so, but, and, we do it because, hey, maybe it's your lucky day, you just never know. But we don't leave it blank because you're guaranteed to get it wrong then, So give yourself a shot. And notice right here that, this was 15, that's in between 1 and 20. -2, now it's negative, but the number 2 is in between 1 and 20. The first question we did was 5. That's my number. So like I said, we don't ever leave griddables blank. Give yourself a shot. Okay. All right. So clear that. All right. So right here we have, just another equation here. Now, here's how this one's different though. All the ones that we have done before just had an X. Okay. This has an H. So you got 2 options here. You could put an X here and just work it with the X. I'm not going to lie. That's usually what I do. Okay. But you can use an H. So normally I do switch this for an X, but here lately, I have kids that switch this as an X and then they end up screwing it up. So I've decided that, like, if I was doing it on my own, I would switch this to an X. But when I'm doing it for kids, I keep this an H because they're going to type in what they see, most kids. So we're going to type in what we see here, and I'm just going to do an H. But if you want, you can do an X. So I want to show you, this is still an equation, so we're still going to go to calculator. We're still going to hit menu 31. Okay. So I'm going to type in what I see. So like I said, I'm going to type in the H. So I'm going to go 3 equals 7 parentheses, and I'm actually going to put H. So go find your H. H is right below the A right here. So we're going to go H minus 2, close parentheses, plus 17. Now, here's where you got to be careful. You're not going to put comma X because we're not using an X. We're going to put comma H. So if you use an H, then we got to put comma, I'm looking for H. Okay, so remember, you always put what letter you're looking for. In this case, we're looking for H. We hit enter and we get 0. Now, I get kids that flip out with 0. Like, poor 0 is not a number. 0 is a number. I can prove it. If you look at my wallet, I have $0 in there right now. So 0 is definitely a number. And so anytime you get 0, that's okay. Now, we do got to remember that infinite can also be 0. But if it's a griddable, So like this is a griddable right here. Okay, I can't write infinite. It has to be a number, right? So this is definitely going to be 0. So you just put 0 and remember to put it in the second box. So when you write that number, make sure you put that in the second box. All right, so now we're going to come over here and do number 6. All right, so once again, we just kind of see a basic equation here. So we're going to go plug this in. So we're going to go to our calculator. We're going to hit menu 3-1. And we are typing in 3x minus 6 equals 3 parentheses x minus 2, close parentheses. And then at the end, we're going to put our comma x. So this time we are using x. Hit enter. Now I get 0 again. And when you look at your answers, is there a 0?
No.
No. So this is where you're like, oh, 0 also means infinite. And of course, when you see infinite right there, hopefully that triggers your mind, oh yeah, that's right. That also can be 0. And so we would put C. Now, here's what I want to make sure we understand. Don't ever put no solution unless you see the words no solution. This calculator is awesome at no solution. So if it's no solution, the calculator is going to tell you. Infinite is what it struggles with. Okay, so infinite, it doesn't say infinite, it says 0. All right. So let's go look at, all right, so number 7. So one of the things that we want to work on, oh, are you still working that out? I'll give you a second if you need to keep working. Okay, you're good? All right. So just to let you know, and I know right now you're the only kid in class, but like even if I had a class full of students, I try never to take off and leave a kid. So if you're ever working and you need me to slow down, just tell me. Because even if there was a whole classroom of kids, I would stop for within reason. Like if a kid's taking all day, then I'm like, okay, we're going to move on. But, if you ever need to finish them, just let me know. I don't want to stop. So one of the things that we want to work on is recognizing stuff, okay? So when we look at something that we go, oh, I recognize I can do this, or I recognize I don't know this one and I'm going to get C, does that make sense? So when we look at this, the thing that stands out to me is X and Y are on the same side of the equal sign, okay? That right there is bad, okay? Now I know we haven't worked on graphs, okay? We'll work on that in the coming units, but we need Y to be by itself. When Y is by itself, that's good. X and Y on the same side, that's bad. So at this point, this is what tells us, okay, either I need to get Y by itself, or this is a question I'm going to get C on, okay? So for right now, what we're working on is our first step to getting Y by itself to see if we can do it, okay? So when we need to get Y by itself, we always get rid of something first. Okay, and this is the first step is really what we're working on. So do you remember what we're going to get rid of first?
The 3.
Very good, the 3x, this entire thing. And we always get rid of it by doing the opposite. So if it's a positive, what are we going to do? Very good. So we're going to go minus 3x, and then we have to do it to both sides. Now, I will tell you, I don't know if you ever noticed this. I don't think I really stressed it. But do you ever notice I never write this underneath the 12?
Yeah.
Okay, and the reason why is because these don't combine. If you were to write it underneath the 12, your mind is going to think, oh, I can do 12 minus 3. So I write it over here to remind myself, hey, these don't combine. These are totally different. Does that make sense? So there's a method to my madness. There's a reason I kind of do what I do. All right, so these cancel out. We're going to bring down the 2y, and then these never combine. Okay, so we like to write the x up front, so minus 3x, and then this 12 here is positive, so we put it at the back, but because it's positive, we got to put a plus 12. So how do you feel? You feel like you're getting better at that first step right there?
Yeah.
Okay, and so that's the thing. I think if we concentrate on that first step and get really good at that to where you just don't even have to think, you're like, I'll move that over there and change the sign. Then it makes it easier to come back and learn the second step. You know, if we try to focus in on both of them at once, sometimes it just, kids get confused. And so that's why I really want to work is focus in on, man, let's get that first step and we're going to keep practicing and then we can work on that second step. So good. I like to hear that. All right. So now we're just going to divide by 2. So divide by 2, divide by 2. And then anytime we have a fraction, I would plug it into the calculator. I'm going to go ahead and tell you this does not reduce. And so this just stays -3/2 right here, x. But this one does, so let's go plug it in. So I'm going to go to calculator and go control divide as our fraction. And we got 12/2. So 12/2, hit enter, and that gives me 6. So this right here is going to become a +6. If I can get back to my, whoa, that says screen sharing is paused. Why is it paused? Hold on one second. I don't know what's going on there. Okay. Oh, shoot, it just erased everything. Did you get that down?
Yeah.
Okay, good. If you were watching the video and I took it off too quickly, just rewind it a little bit and pause it and you can get everything down. That last number was 6. So the final answer, let me just write the final answer down. I think the final answer was y equals -3/2x plus 6. I think that was that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so right here, same thing. We have, so what do we see here? We see x and y on the same side. So what's the first thing we're going to get rid of here?
Negative.
Very good. And it's negative, so what's the opposite? Positive. So we're going to put +7x and +7x. So this cancels. Okay, a lot of kids will mess up on this right here. And I will tell you, I have a big advantage in math, okay? And here's my big advantage. I know I'm a screw up, okay? My wife tells me every day. And so I know it's set in stone. I'm a screw up. Now, why is that an advantage? Because of the fact I know I screw up a lot, I'm constantly going back and going, okay, where did I screw up? And I catch my mistakes. Does that make sense? Now, you're young, you're not married, so you don't know you're a screw up yet, okay? And so you may not have that advantage right there, okay? So you may be working and you haven't trained yourself to go back and find your mistakes. So I'm going to tell you right now what a common mistake is for most kids. Most kids will bring down this 5y right here, but they forget this right here, okay? Now, like I said, I'm a screw up, and so I know to go and look and catch that right there. So make sure you bring down that negative. You got it? Okay. Thank you so much for bringing this. All right. So now we never ever combine these because this has an x and this doesn't. But we like for the x to go up front. So we're going to put 7x plus 25 because it's positive. I feel like we've had a lot of positives right here. If it was negative, we would put a minus. So just whatever, if it's positive, put a plus, negative, put a minus. All right, so now, whatever number's in front of y, we're going to divide by. So we're going to divide by -5, divide by -5, and you always do it to everything, divide by -5. So these will cancel out, and it leaves us with y equals. Now, I would change this just a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and plug this into the calculator. Okay, let's just see what happens with 7/5. So I'm going to clear this out because it's getting kind of busy in here. So I'm going to go control divide 7/-5. So you know those calculators, I didn't think they worked because they weren't charging or anything. They were charged this morning. And so they just maybe just needed to sit for a very, very long time because they weren't charged at all yesterday. But this.
I find that the ones that were completely dead needed about 2 days.
Yeah. So that was kind of neat.
Do you need these or do you need?
I really just need those. I had extras in here, so you can take any extras
Well,
that.
that way you can fill anything. I don't know.
Yeah.
But,
Here, take these right here too. I'll make it.
if it's 225, I'm like kind of
No,
grouping by
they're
room.
not.
They're not, okay.
That's those two.
Okay, well, hold on now. Oh, that's why, because you only had 20. You had
Yeah,
20
Anderson took my other set.
Okay.
So,
Okay, so what number did he have? Because he doesn't have any calculators right now.
Yeah, he should have 223.
Okay.
Just
okay.
whatever the room number is, he should have.
Well, there is no 223 as far as I can tell. So I'm gonna go.
Should be.
Yeah, that's what, yeah.
Because I mean, I personally put those stickers on, so I know that they're, well, I did some of them, so, somewhere around here.
Yes.
But that being said, just make sure he has calculators. Yeah. All right. So-
I got, -7.5.
Very good. So the only difference on the, oh, I didn't come get you a calculator, did I? I took your calculator, said I was gonna get you a calculator. So when I say, like, when I tell you that I'm ADD, I'm not lying. I'm ADD. Like, I got it for the realies. Is that charged?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm really bad. I forget stuff all instantly. All right, very good. So you got -705. It wasn't a big change, but most of the time, if it's negative, most people put the negative up top. It's not wrong to have it on the bottom, but on a multiple choice test, it would be up top. All right, X. Okay, and then let's plug in the 25/5. And so control divide 25/5. And, over -5. I completely screwed that up. By the way, did you know there's a copy and paste feature on this?
No.
So look, watch real quick. So I messed up and I want to edit this. So what you do is you go up until it highlights, right? Just hit enter and it copy and paste it down and then you can go edit it. So like sometimes you know how we type in these really long equations, you might make a mistake. Well, instead of retyping the whole thing, just go up and highlight, once it's highlighted blue, hit enter and it'll copy and paste it down and then you can edit it. All right, so right here, I got -5. Is that what you got?
Mhm.
All right, so then we'll put -5 right here, -5. Phone's been going crazy today. Do you get a lot of spam, like people calling you that from like out of state and stuff like that? I get tons of crap like that. All right. So what question are we on? When did that switch? All right. So let's go look at this. All right. So that was our answer right there. Let me clear that. So I want to skip. Have you done this question right here yet? Okay, let's skip this one real quick because we're low on time. If we have time, we'll come back and do it. I want to make sure we get to a couple other questions. Okay, so on this one right here, so take a look at question 10. I want you to notice, okay, so remember I told you that there's things that we notice that kind of tell us what to do. Y and X are not on the same side here, but Y is not by itself. So this is the one where we just take this right here and we push it to the end and change the sign. Do you remember doing that? Not so much on this one?
With that troll thing?
You're right. That is kind of, that's what we do. When I taught it like that, I didn't teach the troll thing, but you're right. That is kind of the idea behind it is the troll thing. But on this one right here, so yes, you could put +4 and +4, but usually what we teach is just move it to the end and make it a positive and then scratch that out and now Y's by itself. And that's all you got to do. So go ahead and do that real quick. Just move it to the end, change it to a plus and scratch that out. And then Y's by itself. So once I teach you how to put this in the calculator, it'll make more sense when we're doing it. Right now, it's like, well, why do we care if Y's by itself? It's like, well, that's stupid. But the calculator, once we get to graphs, you can't type this into the calculator unless Y's by itself. And then it does so much. And so that's why it's really important for us to just be able to move that back and then type this into the calculator. Okay. So that's all we got to do there. This is your answer right there. All right. So let's take a look at, let's take a look at 12 and then we'll come back and do these other two. So 12, I want you to remember that you cannot plug that into your calculator right there, okay? At least not under menu 3.1. So this looks like an equation, You know, it has just X's, but because of this, we can't type it under menu 3.1. So there's a couple of things we do. First off, you look to see if there's an equal to bar. There's no equal to bar right here. So you look at your answers. Well, A and C have equal to bars in their answers. Well, there's no way that an equal to bar can just appear if it doesn't start with one. So we're going to mark off A and C because they have equal to bars. So that's not right. So when you look at these two answers, one says 3 and one says -3. So if I can just find the number, I've got the answer. So we have a trick. Instead of typing this in with this, we switch it to an equal sign. Do you remember us doing this the other day?
Yeah.
All right, so now we can type this under menu 3.1. Now it's not going to tell us the direction, but it will tell us the number, and that's what we want is the number. So we're going to go type this under menu 3.1. I'm going to go ahead and clear this out and start a new one. So menu 3.1, we're going to, I got to actually hit menu 3.1. I can't just say it. All right, so we're going to hit -3. Remember, don't ever hit the negative symbol, just the minus. So -3, parentheses, -5. I'm going to go ahead and use, oh, sorry, I got lost. I'm going to use X because that's what I see here. X plus 2, close parentheses, plus 4. It didn't copy out very well. Those are plus signs. I don't know if you can see it very well, but it's the copy doesn't look very good. All right, and then we do not put that symbol. We put equals. And then X minus 44. And then, of course, when we get done, we're going to put our comma X, hit enter, and we got -3. Is that what you got? And so we're going to go back to our paper. It was -3, so the answer would be D. Okay, we got some time. So since we're on 11, let's look at 11 real quick. So once again, the fact that there's decimals, don't ever let decimals, oh, is this decimals? I'm like, I get kids, it just kills me. I get kids that are like, oh my gosh, but there's decimals. And they're like, they literally look afraid. I'm like, why do you look so afraid? You look like somebody's trying to rob you or something, like it's a decimal. Just throw it in the calculator. And so, just don't ever let decimals get to you. It's an equation. We're going to throw it in the calculator. Now I am going to use K because that's what they're using. So I'm going to go menu 3.1. And so we got 1.3 minus parentheses minus 5K minus 4, close parentheses, equals 15.8. Okay, so remember on this one, and if you make a mistake, it's okay. The calculator will tell you. We don't want to put comma X because we're using a K. But like I said, if you accidentally do it and hit enter, it's going to bring up an error. And then you just got to go back and look. And when you see a K here and an X there, you know to change it to K. All right, so, or to change this to X if you're going to use an X there. So hit enter, and I got 2.1. Is that what you got? Okay, good. And I will tell you, please don't ever, if I make a mistake, because I screw up all the time, don't ever just sit there and agree with me because I'm the teacher. I screw up too much. I told you, I'm a natural screw up. I know that. I've had classes where I've done a question, and then I'm like, all right, is that what y'all got? And they just all shook their head because they're like, well, you're the teacher. So if you got it, it's got to be right. And then I go to the next class and I do it, and I get a different answer. And I'm like, wait a second. Last period, I got this. And everybody's like, no, it's this other answer. And that class let me do it wrong, and they knew that they got a different answer. And they're like, oh gosh, Settles is wrong, but they didn't want to tell me. And so I'm like, no, I screw up all the time. So I type stuff in wrong and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, if you get something different, please let me know. All right, and then our last one, I know we're going backwards here, but we had skipped. I just wanted to make sure we had enough time, so we skipped this one right here. So once again, this is another equation. And so all we're going to do now, this is a long equation, okay? I will give you a hint. Now, I tell this every year to all my students, and nobody ever believes me, so you don't have to believe me either. But if you hold your calculator like you're holding a cell phone, it's really easy to look, type, look, and lose your spot. Does that make sense? You know, and then you type in the wrong thing. So here's what I recommend. But like I said, no kids ever believe me. Put your calculator on your desk, and with one hand, type into the calculator, and with the other hand, keep your finger on your problem so you don't lose your spot. Okay? Now, how many kids do that? None. But I'm at least going to tell you that it will help, it will keep you from, on a long problem, losing your spot. Okay? All right. So we're going to go to our calculator. We're going to go to menu 3.1. And we got -5, parentheses, 1 plus, that's a plus sign right there, 1 plus 2k, so it's using k's again. 1 plus 2k, close parentheses, -8, parentheses, -4, plus, so that's a plus right there, 5k. Close your parentheses, equals 127. All right, and then comma X, hit enter.
Comma K.
All right, so do you see the error message it gives you? Okay, so yes, so comma K, very good. Oh, okay, so I cannot go and edit this right here, but what I can do is and this is where the copy and paste feature comes in handy. I don't want to retype all that. That was a pain in the butt to type. So if you go up until it highlights the problem, hit enter, then you can go and just delete that and switch that to a K. So much quicker than retyping everything. Hit enter and -2. Is that what you got? Okay, sweet. So this right here would be -2. So remember, the negative goes right there, and then the number always starts in that second box.